about clothing.
Oh, yeah.
And you're sewing clothing.
I didn't start quilts then until...
No, you didn't start
Till
quilts till we were all grown up.
Yeah, Patrice was, I don't know, was it 8th grade or first year of high school or what? Anyway, she wanted to change her bedroom around.
Yeah, that's she learned from you.
And I learned to, I made a quilt for her. And I didn't have any patterns or know anything about quilts. So I bought 2 white sheets, and then I found this feather pattern, quilting pattern. And now how was I going to get that on the sheet? So then I decided, well, I took a paper bag and opened it up and laid it out on top. I don't know how I could see through that, but that's what I did anyway. I traced the pattern. I could trace the pattern on. Then I sat there and I took a big darning needle and I punched holes every so often.
That's how you transferred it.
And this feather pattern, and it was a lot of, you know what it is.
Right.
So anyway, that's how Patrice, she got my first quilt I made. She wanted a bedspread, and I thought that was the cheapest way to do it. And then I quilted, because she wanted purple in her room, so I quilted it in purple thread. Quilting thread instead of white.
I remember bedroom stuff you made for me out of feed bags.
Oh,
for Pleasant
that
Avenue.
was the
Talk about sewing with
those
the
were the
feed.
sundresses. Yeah, you bought them for 20 cents a piece, and it made a child's sundress. Or a sleeveless blouse.
And then charge 50 cents, so you got 30 cents profit there.
Okay.
Oh no, they bought their own fabric.
Okay.
I didn't have to buy the fabric. I just had to sew them and
But you made a lot of things out of those feed bags. You made your
Yeah.
bedspread and all that kind of
all
stuff
kinds
out
of stuff out of them.
And Judy, do you remember a special outfit that Grandma made for you?
Yes. She made me a dress that was green, pale green organdy. And it had a big bow at the neck. And I remember wearing it and feeling so wonderful in it. And I went to church, and these ladies just oohed and awed at how beautiful I was, how nice I looked, and what a gorgeous dress it was. I remember that one. I also remember my prom dress for my prom, which was purple. Mother made it light purple, and it was wonderful. Many layers, and I got violets for my date, and came down with measles the night before the prom. Yeah, that was a beautiful dress too.
How old were you when she made you the green organdy dress?
I would guess I was probably 8 or 9, I think, around there. Yeah.
How about you, Aunt Beth?
My memory of her sewing, I guess, is mostly that when she would make something, she'd make 3 of them for the 3 of us, the younger kids. And the one that sticks out is the dotted Swiss. We each had a very pale, and there's many pictures of it because they were our Easter dresses, and I think we were in Pennsylvania for that Easter.
Yeah,
And I have
Bob
to tell you a story about
plenty.
those dresses. They were used, one of them was used in a play we did.
Oh, so they got
Because they got
down.
handed down to my
to-
girls, and
okay.
then they were a costume in a play.
See,
So you
but
gotta-
those, I love those, and
Those
she
were
obviously
lovely.
sewed many things, and I really feel like I started sewing my own stuff all through high school. I remember I felt like I made my own.
Because your father thought you were so silly you got money for graduation from high school to buy a sewing machine. What is she buying a sewing machine for with her
And
money?
that got used.
And she used that for years.
And then with my own kids
Yeah,
after that.
she made Ryan a suit out of it.
Oh gosh,
Yeah.
many things.
Somebody's wedding, he was a supposed to be a ring bearer for somebody.
Megan's.
Kelly was a flower. Weren't Kelly and Ryan in
Yes.
Lisa's wedding?
Yeah,
That's what you
and
made
they
the
were
suit
also
for.
in Megan's, I think. Maybe I made the suit for the Lisa
Megan
or
or
something.
somebody was a flower girl for somebody
Your,
else.
your
Kelly.
kids weren't at
And she
Megan's
got halfway
wedding.
up the aisle and she put her basket down and turned around and went back again. She wouldn't go up
Where
the
did
wall.
Beth and Patrice from?
Was that Shirley's wedding?
Shirley's wedding,
I'm trying to
And
think.
down
I
in-
know in California,
With Donnie,
Ryan,
yeah.
right?
Ryan and Ariana. Ariana went down the aisle. We rehearsed fine, and
Oh, with
Ariana
her.
went down the aisle, but that day Ryan would not do it. And he got a Care Bear lunch pail for his little gift for being in the wedding, which he didn't. I thought that was Megan's wedding. Anyway.
Beth, when Grandma made the 3 dresses or the 3 outfits for the 3 girls, were you each assigned a color? Like, were you always dressed in pink or?
Oh no, we each had a color. We were able to pick our own colors, I
I
think.
think yours was yellow. Because
There's
you were,
proof, so I don't remember, but there's proof.
I
and
think yours
pictures.
was yellow because you were such a happy child. And
I don't know what happened there.
Megan's was probably pink and Patrice's
And,
blue.
yeah, and you would do that all the time with stuff. I mean, there were little sailor dresses you made for us as well, too.
Yeah.
We were much
Always,
older.
always sewed for the kids. Always sewed for myself until
Right.
I don't even know when I stopped sewing for myself. I can't remember when I stopped sewing for myself, but I always sewed.
Mm-hmm.
Mom, do you remember a special dress or outfit that Grandma made for
I
you?
think of 2 when I was in 1st grade. Mom and I, somehow Aunt Dorothy was involved. I don't know that she did the sewing, but they made me a Dutch girl costume.
Well, and she wouldn't have done any sewing.
No,
She never sewed.
no, but I don't know. In any case, I had a little Dutch girl costume. That's the sad story when Ralph Maybach made. Anyway, he felt so bad that he didn't have a costume that he put mine on, and then I went back to get it in the cloakroom and put it on, and he had it on, and I was furious. Anyway, the teacher handled it. But then, now here I think there has to be a theme. You made a prom dress for me, and it was lilac dotted Swiss.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I remember that dress. It was so pretty. So, gotta be one of the prettiest dresses I ever had. I loved that.
Were you sewing then yourself? Oh, see, I must. Why did I
No,
sew
No,
so?
you
Did
didn't
you
do
sew?
any
sew?
sewing
I
until you had the girls.
My God, I think I
I
made
knit, I know I knit.
everything.
I didn't sew in high school, I don't think
Wow.
I knit.
I must have taken after that.
See,
Well,
I
one
didn't
nice-
like that kind of thing.
One nice thing, because
That's
all the
weird.
girls with the proms and stuff, and the dresses were $25, $30, and that was a lot of money for us. So I could go into this big, I guess Satler's was a department store. They sold about
Yeah,
this
it
stuff.
was.
998 brought
And I could buy taffeta for dresses, and then I would take this nylon net that I make the scrubbies out of and put it underneath so that it would stick out all around, and 50 cents a yard. The nylon net was 15 or 20 cents a yard, and I could make them, I'd look at some of the dresses in the store and
Do your own
copy
thing.
them, and or I'd take one pattern, the top from one pattern and the bottom from another one, and
She did, she could do that.
but they always had a,
For my senior prom, I got a date so late that Mother didn't have time to even put the zipper in the dress. And she sewed me into it.
That
I was
works.
the only girl at the senior prom sewed
Sewed
into her dress.
How funny.
Yeah.
A
Grandma,
lot of sewing.
Grandma, did you sew these clothes for economy or because you enjoyed it or both?
Well, I enjoyed sewing, but economy mostly, because we couldn't afford $25, $30 for a dress you're gonna wear once. And, I could make them maybe for $5. Well, I could.
Yeah.
I mean, 2-3 yards of these at 50 cents a yard, and part
Well,
of it.
people used to sew for economy. I don't know if you can sew for economy now.
Oh, you couldn't.
Well, that was part of the challenge, to see how cheap you could make something too. To me, that was part of the challenge.
But you use the same pattern over and
Oh,
over.
absolutely.
And
Or
now,
mix and
by the
match
time you
it.
buy a pattern and the notions
Right.
and the fabric,
You might as well buy something on
Oh, sure.
sale.
Well, and then when was it you went to college? I mean, when you went. But then we did find out that you could go to these bridal shops
yes,
and pick up one-of-a-kind sampled.
bridesmaid dresses.
Yeah. And then I used to get them for
Then
about
those
$5
were
to $10.
those-
I had to pay for those.
those were
so
$5. Those
Yeah.
dresses, like
anything that was.
like if they had 6 of a kind of bridesmaid's dress and the bride only brought 5, then that single would
One,
be there and they'd
right.
sell them inexpensively.
So we got it cheap.
Grandma, did you make any special dishes or recipes that your mother taught you?
Well, eventually I learned to make kupas from I don't know if it was Better Homes and Gardens or Betty Crocker, and it was just, they called it a refrigerator roll recipe, and you made up this dough, and then you made how many rolls you wanted to make for that meal, and then put the rest of it in a bowl, a covered bowl, and kept it for, and I learned to make goulash.
How about what we called stew? Do you remember that, with the carrots and the potatoes and the
Oh yeah, to cook that with bacon fat or something.
salt pork? maybe?
No, I never used salt pork.
Well, there was some fatty thing
Well,
in
it was
there.
bacon. I'd buy the ends of the bacon,
Oh, okay.
and when they
That sounds
cut them in the,
That's very
and
Pennsylvania
sometimes that
Dutch.
was like 10 cents a pound, so it was a cheap.
Tasted awfully good.
Sure, that bacon flavors a lot of things.
What else did she make that you made for us? Well, she must
Well,
have taught
just-
you to can.
Oh yeah,
Wasn't
we
there
always-
some
we always helped can.
Clam
Fosnaki
soup or clam something?
Clam chowder, oh, well, the way she made clam chowder, she'd just make vegetable soup with all the, she used an old-fashioned
No.
hand grinder,
A meat grinder.
and I used the bigger hole, or the bigger things to make bigger chunks, and just cook that, and then, just before we ate, why, she would open up a can of chopped clams, minced clams they were called, and put that in, and that was our clam chowder. And it's more like what they make Manhattan clam chowder, but they don't make the.
But it wasn't the milky kind.
No, that's New England. That was the kind your dad always liked.
She taught you to make that potato soup you used to make.
Oh yeah, the potato soup.
I'm trying to think what else.
What's in the goulash recipe?
What did she say?
What's in the goulash recipe?
Oh, I
We-
think you got it, haven't you? You got it.
This
yeah.
is for
Oh.
the machine here.
Okay. At that time I was using canned tomatoes, so it was a quart jar of tomatoes. And I used to take and squeeze them to make little smaller pieces, you know. Now I use the processor. And then I chop up peppers and onions and celery and cook that together. And then when it was about the right thickness and stuff, then I would take the hamburger and crumble it into that.
She would put the raw meat right into the vegetables.
Yeah, the raw meat into the veg. Never fry it. You just put the raw meat in, and then let it cook. You know, just simmer away for about 10-15 minutes, because that hamburger is all little tiny pieces, so it doesn't take long to cook. And that's it.
How about the noodles then?
Huh?
The macaroni.
Oh, yeah. Then you cook macaroni and put macaroni in it. And you just have to kind of guess on how much you want to put in it. But I always found some use to use the macaroni up.
How about the pickles you used to make?
The bread and butter pickles, just took well, they were smaller cucumbers. They weren't the bigger ones. They were more pickles. I mean, because pickles are a smaller cucumber, I guess. Anyway, you just slice those up real fine, and we used to use a cabbage slicer, a big one that fit over a big pan. It was about that long and about that wide, and it had the slicer, the blades in the middle of the thing, and then you just kept pushing the heads of cabbage over it.
Or the pickle.
Or the pickles, and then that recipe, for it was a certain length of time, and I think an hour, I'm not quite sure.
That was your mom's recipe.
Yeah, and put salt on him, kept stirring him now and then for an hour with the ice cubes in them, a lot of ice in it. That made them real crispy and nice. And then when I was ready to can them, why then there was a sweet syrup,
Sweet
sugar
and
and
sour.
water
And vinegar.
and vinegar, and regular portions. But I don't think I even got that recipe anymore. And then you would heat that and the syrup and the pickles together, and then put them in canning jars and hot, so that would seal the rubber ring that went around and seal them. That's how I made pickles.
And you used to do peaches because
Oh, yeah.
you taught me how to do peaches without making the heavy syrup. You just put the sugar right in the jar
Yeah,
and then
depending
water,
on how
and
sweet you wanted.
then you process those,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. That was
Oh,
very
and then there used to
easy.
be applesauce you'd make,
Oh,
and
Ketchup.
beets, and ketchup, and
oh yeah, I made ketchup
Root beer. Where did you live when Dad made root beer?
with what?
Root beer? Didn't you make
Oh,
root beer in this basement?
your dad used to make root
Oh,
beer.
Dad.
I guess my dad used to too. But, that was just a regular recipe that you got bought with Hires syrup, root beer syrup.
Oh.
But didn't they bottles explode once or something? Yeah. Do you remember about that?
I don't remember that because I had nothing to do with it because I didn't
No.
like root beer,
I just remember
It still doesn't.
popping root beer bottles.
and that was sweet.
Maybe it wasn't.
And to this day, I'm not fond of root beer.
Where did you get all the fruits and vegetables? Did you have a garden?
Gardens, well, and then I think you were around when we were talking about the tomatoes that Grandpa built this hot frame or something, and he took tomato seed and just threw it in it. And then of course the heat from and you could put a glass cover on top of that, and the seed sprouted. And he and Dick was about 5 years old, and he was standing there helping his father, just standing there watching him. But he planted about 100 tomato plants, and we had tomatoes for everybody.
so how many jars would you usually can of tomatoes?
Oh, I would do probably 50 jars of tomatoes.
That'd give you one a week. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And tomato juice, and I canned peaches, and
Now, when we have stewed tomatoes for vegetable for
Yeah.
supper, was that something you canned separately, or did you just use your regular canned tomatoes to make that?
just the regular ones. Well, I guess I did cut them in quarters. That I knew, but I used both that for both goulash and olive can. I never canned them any differently, you know. I never really needed to keep them whole because we either had stewed tomatoes or chili, or no, we didn't make chili then. Yeah, or the goulash out of it. And I made ketchup, and you had to cook down and put spices.
Did you make chili sauce?
Did we?
I used to make chili sauce. Did you ever make chili sauce?
Oh, yes. Then I got, not too many years back, after I moved here, the gal downstairs made some chili sauce and gave me a taste of it, and it was just a little bit on the hot side. You never had it like that.
No.
It was always sweet. Because we cook that down and then strain it. And that's how we did that. And we had our own garden. Or then, too, when we lived on East Main Street, this Al Murray that lived upstairs, he worked the different shifts at the steel plant. And if he had a night shift and he got off like about 6 o'clock in the morning, he'd go to the big markets in Buffalo where they sold all these things to grocery stores, you know, by the bushel and that. He came home one time with, I forget how many bags of, because that's how they sold it, corn with the husks on. And I forget how many pints of corn. And what happened to that, because Mother always said, now pack it in there good, you know. And so we take a corn cob and pack it down in there. My corn started fermenting and it blew up. 2 or 3 jars blew up. Yeah, and we always had cider down in this basement.
From the trees in the yard at Main Street. Yeah.
Right.
East Main Street.
We take them to the cider press and they'd press them and we'd always have,
Hard cider.
well, that little bit, but the rest was.
It looks like we only have a couple minutes left, so I did want to ask this question. Do you think that the older children and the younger children were raised differently? Did the younger children have more or less freedom, or more or
Sally and
fewer
Judy probably say
things?
yes to the younger 3. I mean, you would
Well,
probably say
in
yes.
your opinion, not what Judy and I would
No.
say.
I know.
No.
Do you think you were
We
the same?
tried to raise them the same way. I mean, I don't think that they didn't get any spankings except Patrice did when Megan was a baby. Well, they were all out playing with the neighborhood kids. And this Jimmy Kreischer, who lived one street over, playing, he was older than the rest of the kids. And he took them all back down the end of one of the streets, and there was just a little tiny creek running along. Here I am in the house with a new baby, and I couldn't see the kids anywhere. And I called and called, and I couldn't find them, and then I finally started seeing them coming up from the back with Jimmy Kreischer, and Patrice got a few whacks on her behind. What did you know better than do that?
All right, from the girls' perspective, did you see any difference?
I think it was a different, I mean, there's so many years between us. That for that reason, there was a difference, I think. They traveled a little more with the girls than they do with us, but we had our car rides and we got into the country.
Sundays, yeah.
And that was
After the war.
right.
During the war, we used to take the bus
Well,
because
I
it
don't remember.
didn't have the gas.
But it was
And
a
we
different
couldn't buy
time.
tires.
And I think their income was better also. And
Oh yes.
yeah, so there was that difference, definitely.
I think there were stricter rules for us because they were younger. Younger parents tend to be stricter than older parents. For example, this was always my thing. We had to go to bed at 7:30 no matter what. And these darlings got to fall asleep in front of the TV.
Beth, quickly, do you agree?
I wouldn't know any different because I didn't
Yeah,
know
that's
what was
right.
going on with them.
That's
I felt like they were fairly strict parents and that there were a lot of rules and we had to follow them. But I got spanked too. You spanked me once.
bet.
Oh,
Yeah,
I got spanked.
but I had my
once.
snowsuit on, so it didn't hurt so
I was so
My
indignant.
homemade snowsuit.
It's right.
I was standing on the stairs. Dick did something naughty, and he ran up the stairs past me, and Mother was after him and grabbed me and spanked me. And
It was the wrong person.
she was supposed to spank Dick.
It's all Dick's fault.
It was really funny.
We used to fall asleep in front of the radio, or at least I remember falling
Wow.
asleep.
'Cause
Listening
they
to
didn't have a
radio
TV.
stories. Yeah.
That's good.
They got read to by their father.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, my
yeah.
goodness,
That's-
yes.
He'd
Oh.
take them in the living room after dinner when they were little and couldn't help, and he'd read to them while I did while I did the dishes.
It's
Well,
But that was
he
nice,
read-
though. I mean,
And on East Main Street, Dick and I had twin beds in that one room that had that
That big one,
fireplace. Yeah. And he read us Hans Brinker, Silver Skates, Heidi, The Swiss Family Robinson, and I moved out of that house when I was 8, so I'd heard all those books before I was 8, and Dick was a year and a half younger than me, and we just thrived on it. We thrived on it. He read to us
You were there.
in our bedroom at night. It was wonderful. It was just great. Loved it. We were lucky kids.
We were.
We really were.
I think you were all pretty happy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we were happy.